Regular meeting for February 3rd, 2025, the Pipestone City Council to order, please. Could I have a roll call?
Mayor Delaney,
Here.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Here.
Councilmember Thompson,
Here.
Councilmember Swanson,
Here.
and Councilmember Kolbeck.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. If you're able, please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda. Is there any additions, changes, or deletions? And I do have some of both here. So under new business, I'd like to add item F, approve the 1 and 5 year plan. Under new business, item F. And then also under new business, item G, authorize staff to file a claim from the Visa MasterCard fee settlement. And Jason will explain that further when we get to that. But item G is the Visa MasterCard fee settlement. And then I'd also like to remove from the agenda in old business, item A, and also item B.
From old business.
From
item
old
A.
business, item A and item B. Any other changes or additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say no, and motion carries. Consent agenda. The consent agenda contains the following items for approval: the January 21st, 2025 regular meeting minutes, the payment of claims and listing of bills. And I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say no, and motion carries. Thank you. Community concerns. Do we have anyone signed in for community concerns, Deb, or have you received any information?
No one has signed in, and I haven't received any phone calls or emails.
Okay, thank you. Next up is a public hearing relating to the transfer and defederalization of the Community Development Block Grant funds to the Southwest Initiative Foundation. And I would have to have a motion to open that public hearing at this time.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. And so we will open the meeting at 6:34 p.m. And this public hearing is required to be held to start the process of defederalizing Community Development Block Grant funds and transferring the remaining block grant funds to the Southwest Initiative Foundation, who is an eligible entity and will be responsible for the administration of the funds on behalf of the city. Following the public hearing, the council will be considering the approval of Resolution 2025-14, an agreement between the city and the Southwest Initiative Foundation. And so Justin will explain further at this point. And Justin, you go to the podium.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've been sitting on about $19,000 from 1999. It was the Ellison Meats project. That's how long it's been sitting around. It was still Ellison Meats. But that money, we can loan that out in the revolving grant fund. We have to follow all the federal regulations, so we have to have environmental review studies, prevailing wage requirements, and all that stuff. And for $19,000, nobody wants to mess with that small amount of money. If we run it through SWIFT, they can defederalize it, so they can loan it out all through town without all the hang-ups that we would have to do.
And what type of loans would be eligible for that type of funding through SWIFT?
We do anything like business expansion or new businesses. We've been talking about childcare, since that's kind of what we're working on with Scott too, through SWIFT.
Okay. When you say a business expansion, does that include infrastructure, building, or is that staffing, or?
It'd be building, a physical
Okay.
project.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it
physical, real
would stay in
property.
Pipestone.
Yeah, it would stay in Pipestone
So-
through the community foundation.
Okay,
Then they can invest it, and we can't, you know. We don't have to do all the reporting every year that Jody does now.
and the Southwest Initiative Foundation, where's that located out of, and who is on that?
I've been talking with Scott Marquardt, he's the president. They're out of Hutchinson, but they're in these 19 southwest counties down here.
Okay. Has Pipestone worked with them in the past?
Yeah, like they helped build the Schroeder Center, the lodge. They've helped numerous businesses with grants and loans and everything.
Okay. So a good track record, a lot of history with Pipestone and surrounding area, and
So we'd just transfer the money to them.
Well, we got to apply it through deed, and there's a few more steps, but yeah, eventually.
But it'd be easier to do it that way than
yeah.
to,
and then when the loans are paid back, how is that? Do they?
It would just go into a revolving loan fund, and
It goes into revolving loan fund, and they continue to
through
have
SWIFT.
those loans available.
Yep.
At a certain point, if that money runs out, how does it get replenished, or is there a possibility? Is there a way to do that? If in fact you have some bad loans or something,
Yeah,
is that something the city invests in at a later date, or?
you probably could, or we do our own RLFs too. through the
Okay.
EDA.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any questions from the council? Anyone from the public at all would like to comment on our public hearing? So, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say no, and motion carries. Well, thank you. On to new business, Resolution 2025-13, and that is a discussion at our work session earlier with Rebecca Kurtz from Ellers and Associates, and the resolution amends Resolution 2017-33 that was adopted in June 19th of 2017, and the terms of that interfund loan authorizing the city to advance up to $250,000 is the number we have right now, but that's something that can be discussed. And the city's general fund to reimburse itself for qualified costs associated with TIF District Number 1-13. So I'd entertain a motion for Resolution 2025-13.
I'll make a motion for resolution 2025-13, but I'd like to change the amount from 250,000 to 450,000.
I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2025-13 with the change of the amount of 250,000 to 450,000. And I would open it up for discussion at this point. There are questions. And we had a very good presentation earlier on this, and it makes sense to have that at a higher cap so that we don't limit ourselves over the terms of this TIF district. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say no, and motion carries. Resolution 2025-14, and this resolution is related to the public hearing which we just held for the Community Development Block Grant and the Economic Development Program Fund. If approved, the request will be made to the Minnesota Department of Economics Development for approval, which is deed, to designate the Southwest Initiative Fund as our local development organization, or LDO, and serving the community and economic development needs of the city of Pipestone, and therefore authorizing them to receive the repayments from the CDBG-ED set-aside loan to Ellison Meats, which Justin had just explained is about $19,000. And it clears the way for easier processing of the loan application if we go through the local development authority, organization, I should say. So I'd entertain a motion for Resolution 2025-14.
I move, do Resolution 2025-14.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any questions or discussion? And again, we had a good presentation, so I think all of our questions were answered, and all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item C, agreement between the city and the Southwest Initiative Foundation. So this agreement goes along with Resolution 2025-14 and is a mutual agreement that designates the Southwest Initiative Fund, or the LDO, to administer the $19,268.16 in defederalized funds remaining from the Community Development Block Grant. And if we approve that, then we'll direct the Southwest Initiative Fund Director for their consideration. So, all in favor, or I need a motion, I guess, I'm sorry.
So
Entertain a
moved.
motion.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. And motion carries. Resolution 2025-15. This resolution accepts the following donations. And the Pipestone United Way has donated $496.45 to assist the Minders Library with initiative marketing. And very generous donation from the Pipestone United Way, and thank them for that. I'd entertain a motion to approve that donation.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no, and motion carries. Thank you. Item E, Resolution 2025-16. This resolution approves plans and specifics for the AWOS replacement project at the municipal airport and allows the city engineer firm to prepare the advertising for the bids. The AWOS is that equipment that gives us weather information. And yeah, we talked about it briefly with Rob here the other day. And it's certainly more than just providing the temperature to the area. That is a safety item that pilots rely on when they're coming and going through the airport system. And certainly equipment that we need to have updated, and it hasn't been operational for quite some time now. So we're a little bit behind the eight ball on that, and we want to get caught up. So I'd entertain a resolution for the engineer to go for bids and specs on this, and we'll get the ball rolling on it.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns? All in favor,
Aye.
indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. And motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item F, and that is approval of the 1-year and 5-year plan. And in your handouts, we have a copy of that plan that we went over at our planning session, work session, Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon this last weekend. And this is the revised version of our 25 goals and our 26 and to 2030 5-year plan goals. So we're probably not going to meet every one of these goals, but that's not a bad thing. And if you aim high, and that's why my intention's to aim high here and try to make this place the best we can. So I'm very happy with our goals we have planned here for 2025, and if anyone has anything else they'd like to add, now would be the time. Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to approve this as our 1 and 5-year plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say no, and motion carries. Thank you. Item F, or I'm sorry, Item G, and that's authorizing staff to file a claim from the Visa MasterCard fee settlement. And Jason, if you can hear us, if you want to go ahead with the presentation that you have on this item, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This actually came up, Deb brought it to my attention kind of late last week, and the deadline to file is actually tomorrow. This is a class action lawsuit that was brought against Visa and MasterCard for charges. It was an antitrust lawsuit for charges they were charging when people were accepting payment with those cards, fees that they were charging. And I think the window is something like 2009 to, or 2004 to 2019, I think. And it sounds like the city kind of in general didn't accept credit cards till after or until COVID, but that they were accepted at the liquor store. This one is interesting because I had never heard of it. Most of the time when these class action lawsuits come up, the League of Minnesota Cities is on it. You'll get some kind of notice. But I did look into it, and it applies to, broadly to businesses, and there are things in there indicating that it applies to governmental entities as well. I reached out to the League of Minnesota Cities to see if they had looked into it or pushed anything out. I haven't heard back from them. Like any class action lawsuit, it's the balance of joining the class and filing a claim, and kind of, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of money here. It's, the number was something like $3,000 to $9,000 for every $1 million kind of revenue through the cards. So that's the money that you would get versus the city itself bringing an antitrust lawsuit against Visa and MasterCard, which obviously would be very expensive. And I don't really see any downside to just filing the claim. The only thing you have to submit now is basically a tax ID number. It is, I think the number, then the staff will have to go through the numbers, I think, and figure out, over that span, what those fees were, what the revenue was, those things. But this is just to kind of get your name into the, to file that claim and get your name into the lawsuit. And if it's something that comes up where the city is not included, then, it can just be withdrawn, or, we just won't be included. But I think with the deadline tomorrow, I don't see a whole lot of downside to it. The city is not going to want to pursue an antitrust lawsuit on its own against Visa and MasterCard. And so I'm recommending filing that claim and just kind of see what happens.
Okay. Now, go ahead, Deb.
It was Karen brought it to my attention when I was in the bank last week, and told me to look into it. Probably wouldn't hurt, so I did, and then brought it to Jason. I did pull up our charges. We actually had we were using credit cards. I shouldn't say using. We were allowing the use of credit cards. We began in 2000, so we've got 24 years of being charged fees under our belt. So I have all that, and I'm ready to move forward and file our claim if you're okay with that.
Do you have an estimated dollar figure on that claim?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right.
It's not extremely large, but it's 4 figures.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be over probably 5, but.
But now this is when someone purchased merchandise at our municipal liquor store, for example, then we would have to pay a fee to MasterCard and Visa because that purchase was done with that type of card. And now, had we accepted the cards for anything like the rec center, or had we accepted the cards for anything like water bills or anything like that?
The city didn't we never started using credit cards until COVID.
Okay.
The liquor store is the main one that has used credit cards. The airport has used credit cards, but that's mainly our pilots.
Sure.
But it's mainly the rec center, the pool, and the liquor store, mainly the liquor store.
Okay.
And it's fees, it's my understanding, Jason, isn't it the fees that they're charging us?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
yeah.
And it's probably from, we started using credit cards, accepting credit cards in 2000, but it's like, some of our fees they're in the four figures. But I don't have a total amount.
Okay.
But it's be easy to add that up. I pulled the fund.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon for a credit card to charge a business like a 3% fee or something on every purchase,
No.
something like that, so.
And
Yeah.
I'm not sure, was it every purchase, Jason, or if it's a monthly fee? I'm not sure how that
Okay.
works. I just looked to make sure that we hit that window.
Okay.
As Jason said, it's 2004 to 2019. I had to make sure that, because I know we didn't start here at city office till COVID in 2020.
Okay. Well, I think it's certainly worth
Yeah.
looking into, and I'd entertain a motion to approve staff to go ahead with the claim for the fee settlements of Visa and MasterCard.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other questions or discussion? Thank you, Jason, for the update on that. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no, and motion carries. Closing comments, and I do have a closing comment that staff wanted me to bring up on the common or European buckthorn. And the buckthorn bush is a bush that we had out at the, we've had it around Pipestone. In fact, there was some out there by the new soccer complex, and we just had some of those bushes removed, but they're a very invasive species, and it's restricted. It's a noxious weed. You're not required to be controlling it or eradicating it by law, but landowners are strongly encouraged to manage these invasive plants on their properties in order to reduce the spread into new areas. And they have little black berries that they drop off. Birds eat them, squirrels, everything else, and they spread quite rapidly. And so the Department of Agriculture would like people to address that if they would. And like I said, we do have them in our area, but they are quite widespread in northern Minnesota and around the eastern side of Minnesota. Ripened berries drop directly beneath the plants where a dense understory of seedlings are eventually produced, and the fruits are also highly attractive to birds and small mammals that aid in the spread of the seeds to the new areas, sometimes several miles from the initial infestation. So due to the spread of seeds via birds, buckthorn is extremely hard to control, and that's why if you have it on your property, please remove it.
And add to that, there's quite a bit of it out at the monument, or out at the Hiawatha Pageant Park, and they're really cleaning it out in that area as well. So it's going to look a little different, but
Okay.
it's a good thing. It's a very invasive species.
And didn't we have something over there on the northwest side of town too? 13th Street or so, there was a row of buckthorn, I believe, in there.
I believe there was some there too.
Yeah, yeah. And has that been taken out?
I'm not sure if they've gotten that far yet.
Okay, all right.
But we are
But city
addressing it.
staff is working on removing it on city property, and we'd certainly encourage private property owners to also remove it. So thank you. Any other closing comments from anyone? All right, well, with that, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thanks, guys.